So this is injury resistance. We're talking, this is for injury resistance and durability. That's the big, I guess, the mom and dad always want to know, like, hey, why are you, what, my son and daughter's going to come train with you. What are you going to get out of this? Like, they'll be very injury resistant and very durable. And here's this will make sense. And like I said, like we talked about, like before we're doing their PST, we want to have all of our strength, we want to have all of our reps in. We also want to have that reactive dynamic explosiveness, right, for the test. And so as we're getting towards what we'll call the PST game time, we want to peak being, let's get the maximal physical human potential we can get out of our training so we can hopefully carry that over into the event. Like that's what we see in Olympics, like, hey, I got this, you got the Olympics that just happened, like, 10 to 30 days out, depending on the sport or the situation, they were peaking. Peak for the event, they show up to the event, they keep training, working technique, but at that point you got what you got. Like you don't want to be like, hey, right before the PST, buy a new pair of shoes and go for a run. You know what I mean? You got what you got, and so we got to bank on our training has done that, and the power and speed is the peaking, and then we taper off of it before the game. That's why the days leading up to your PST, you do less and less and less. Because you could, this is the textbook, all of us could be ready for a PST. Like let's say we have a date. Every single one of us could do absolutely fucking nothing. We could sit on the couch, not be sedentary in the thing of eat shit food, but we could just keep hydration up, keep eating decent, but do absolutely nothing for 21 days, and our VO2 wouldn't change at all. Nothing. Nothing at all. So that's what I'm saying, like most people come to the end of the race or their test, like they try to add more in. So what you have for a test, when you back up 21 days, that's what you got. So what you do in 21 days can only hurt you if you pile it on. So 21 days out, you peak. Then you decide, what's my taper rate? Then your taper rate is going to determine based on what you've done in the past or what you're comfortable with or whatever, right? Most people are going to take, here's the peak and taper program right here. If you guys want to you get an idea. It's broken up into what the weeks are, 21 days of this, and then because you see, we're going in knowing, hey, my last event that I'm going to train for is a couple weeks of power and speed, and I'm going to peak. Now after that power and speed, I know I've chosen to peak because I know where my PST's at. So I've peaked, so I can start tapering the work. So when it comes to the game day, or they might change it, like, oh, hey, can you do it 2 days earlier or 2 days later? Because things change, like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm in my taper. Of course I can. Because once you hit your peak, from that point on, you can do any test at any point, right? We may have to like elongate the peak and taper, but for you guys, we typically don't. That gets screwed up when guys aren't active duty yet and they're at the mercy of our recruiters and when we're going to take the PST and all this stuff. But when you guys are active duty, typically you really know when that date is. Like, hey, that's when the date, your leadership knows it. So you're like, hey, I'm training to this point, 20 days out. I'm going to work hard for 10 more days, and then I'm going to taper for 10. That's what that is. Like you could be, I am at my peak, but hey, I got another more week. I want to train intensely because I've done it and I know I can. I don't need 21 days to taper. Some guys only want 6 or 10. Some guys only want 4. Some guys don't need it at all because they're just staying in the power and speed module, just waiting for the test. You can do that too, right? You're just in that game speed ready, okay? So that's also where the power and speed, it's the place where you go, I'm doing this because this is my final preparation for the test, or final preparation for the season, or final preparation for my deployment. So right before you go into deployment, a person should be doing power and speed, because that means you've done all the hypertrophy, you've done all the strength, you've conditioned everything, now you're game ready for your deployment. That's why we do power and speed. And then under deployment, you do hypertrophy the whole time. Hypertrophy and power and speed. You just kind of balance those a little bit. Keep athletic. We stay away from strength, okay? And then when you come back from deployment, we do some version of hypertrophy that accommodates our level of stress. That's it. That's the other part where Catherine can talk to you about, like, how does one evaluate their level of stress, or things that, a lot of it's just conversational and seeing what your person's dealing with and come back from deployment. So a lot of times it's not even just like necessarily personal stuff. It's just the shifting of those gears, those emotional gears, can be a little bit trying sometimes. All right, power and speed for rucking. Light and fast, 20 pounds, 30 max. And that's 30 max if you're a big dude, you're 220, 230, 240. Maybe we'll get up to that, up to 30 pounds. But 20 pounds with a ruck, and you're moving as fast as possible with no run. Because if I'm walking as fast as I can, that's the most ground force I'm going to simulate in a walk. If I run, it's no longer a walk, and the ground force has changed. But if I'm walking as fast as I can without being out erratic, the amount of ground force I'm putting into that ground is exceptionally high. Think about that. 20 pounds on your back, you're walking fast as you fucking can. There's no amount of jog in the world that's going to suffice that ground force. It'll always be higher with the walk. And I can manage ground force. And I'm doing it on purpose. Like, Jeff, the walk most definitely transfers into the run if you're walking properly. Most people just don't walk right. Most people are heel striking and the hips are all funny. But if I'm heel striking over my toe, off my toe, right? That's the difference. You put weight on and people go, a lot of even just put body armor on people, they just change posture. And then it's normal because you're on it all the time, but it's like, okay, that's exactly what we're trying to do, to stop doing, is letting the body armor just change our posture. Because it does. It just, you put it on, we do it on, body goes, oh, that's what I'm used to. Like, oh, come on, man, get into it. So that's what we're trying to do here, is we're speeding up with never dropping posture. That's it. How fast can I go? How fast can I go while simulating ground force and posture? That's because we can manage it, because we're walking as fast as possible. I can be aware where my feet are at. When I'm running, I'm not thinking internal rotation of feet, but I can control, like if I'm walking and someone's really walking like this, if I'm walking as fast as I can with a ruck, I can still say, hey, get over that foot. You know, we can see it, you can feel it, okay? From a running standpoint, sprint. Right? But the sprint is this is where the key is at, okay? This is where people go, what? Really? Like, yeah, really. Okay. So the fastest human being on the planet ever clocked was about 29 miles an hour. Something like 29.8. I think Usain Bolt, something like that. Okay. If you were to take the fastest any one of us could run, it's probably, we'll be nice to ourselves and say we can run 25, which is 26 miles an hour is real fucking fast for a human. We'll just say 25, just for argument's sake. Okay? If you were to take, let's say, 60% of our ability, our effort, our 60% effort, if we can run 25 miles an hour, we run 60%, you're gonna run a 4 fucking minute mile. Start thinking about that. If you run 45 or 50% of your effort, you're going to run an 8-minute mile. Like none of us are world-class runners. I know selection is difficult, but the reality is that if you are able to run a percentage of your rate, if you're able to run, let's say 51% of your total world speed and hold that, that's as fast as you'll ever need to run. And that's the idea, and that's where we're going to get into pacing, because that can be achieved real easily once you come out of the gate right. But the thing is we're so geared appropriately for our job to go, fuck it, go. You're like, whoa, you're out of the gate and the modulation of your effort wasn't even a concept. But that's the difference between where you guys are going. Like, that really is the difference, is like, no one is questioning the will of the operator. But now you guys are going to the selection that no one's calling you a pussy. No one's wondering if you're tough enough. They want to see if you can acquire skill. That's it. That's what they're trying to figure out. So, can you make decisions under great duress? How do we make great decisions under duress? We have to practice it. So we have to practice it when we're running. We have to practice what pacing is. Well, if we don't know what pacing is, it's because we've never felt it. We've got to learn how to feel it, okay? Because if I can feel the moment I hit a fucking golf ball where I know it's going, I know as soon as I run, when I get a pace, what is going to happen with my time if I've practiced it. And that's what we're going to get to, okay? So what I'm saying is we want you to run not fast. We want you to run at a very high average. When you run at a high average, every single one of you PRs every single time. And that's what we're going to get to the math on that here in a second, in just a minute. But power and speed is how we access all the work you guys have done. It's like the fine, like you get this car redone, badass 69 Camaro or something. You get it all, interior's all done, badass wheels, all custom, and the paint job is dog shit. You're like, it's just not that fucking cool anymore. It's just not. It's like, did all the work of hypertrophy, did all the strength, but I omitted this. Or it's like a lot of people they'll omit strength, or they'll omit power and speed and wonder why they can't be dynamically explosive. Well, you never trained it. You don't get it unless you've trained it. And so when you train it, you always own it. That's the thing, is when you do it right, it's like riding a bike. You don't unlearn it. Like, you don't unlearn shooting a fucking pistol. You don't unlearn doing this either, because why? Why do you not unlearn shooting? Because you fucking feel it. You can hear the slide stick back when it's right. Like, fuck, I didn't even have to think. I could feel it. Once you start feeling this, it'll come together, okay?